What it do, homies? We out here with some more casual geographic. This time we're checking out just another boring video about birds. So that means it is not going to be a boring video. Clever title. Let's go ahead, shut up, and turn it up.
Don't let the baby face and lack of facial hair fool you. Us 90s kids are getting old. And one thing they don't tell you about getting old,
I didn't know
that bird watcher phase really comes out of nowhere. You'll just be minding your own affairs and then one day, unprovoked, you'll be like, that is an immaculate looking grackle. We laughed, but the whole time he was right. The bird is the word. And is he wrong? Just look at Buddy go. I could watch that for a couple of minutes without getting bored. This is an American woodcock, and I know what you're thinking. They go by a lot of names, such as the timber doodle, the bogsucker, and the hokum poke. As for the partridge plugwalk, woodcocks eat worms, and it's believed that a cute little woodcock waltz to us is a category 7 disaster to any earthworms below, and the confusion makes it easier for a hokum poke to poke 'em folks. They do their dancey dance in the name of murder. And clearly it takes some time for a woodcock to get the rhythm right. As you can see for this baby bogsucker, the beat is chasing them. They're just faster, but they're trying, and one day they'll get the motion, and that's all you really can do when you're a little woodcock. Now, if
you want to know what's cool about this is that this immediately got me thinking about Dune and how they kind of do their sand dance to not provoke the worms, right, from coming out from the ground. So they try to walk without rhythm, right? Break it up and everything, but this bird is doing something rhythmic. Is that really gets worms to come out of the ground? I didn't know, that whole entire thing was based off something that was real. That's interesting.
I've gotten older, there's one bird I've really grown to appreciate. This is a blue-footed booby. Now I know what you're thinking. Let's address it. Why blue? We'll get to that, but the blue-footed booby is a seabird of the Sula genus, along with the masked booby, the Nazca booby, Peruvian booby, brown booby, and the red-footed booby. Because don't let poor media representation fool you. Boobies come in a lot of colors, but to be fair, you might have only ever seen blue. Well, the blue comes from the carotenoid pigments in the fish they eat. It's really no different from the shrimp that turns flamingos pink. And if you identify as Bugs Bunny, the carrot consumption can tint you tangerine. For bluefoots, the color actually correlates to their health, and by extension, how attractive they are to a partner. And there's no stolen valor in this system. Scientists did an experiment where the boobies starved for 48 hours saw an immediate decrease in the brightness of their blue. They took it a step further by taking a male booby, we'll call him a mooby, that already had a female lay an egg in his nest and dulled his feet with makeup. His mate responded to the nerf by laying a smaller egg days later, one with less yolk concentration and therefore less of a chance of living. So yeah, the brightness of a booby means everything and is a literal blue check that verifies their immunological health. Funny thing, you see the same thing with mandrills. Male mandrills look like they got rear-ended by a snow cone machine because it's a sign of social status. The higher the status, the higher the saturation. But a mandrill that gets regularly bullied and beaten will lose its cheek color, so that's why alpha mandrills look like they're constantly cotton candy constipated. The brighter the butt, the more he procreates, and brighter boobies get more groupies, which is why their courtship display involves birds flaunting their colorway. It's like red bottoms but for Chris. It honestly looks like they're on a mission not to crease their sneaks, and the final act of this dance involves the mooby presenting his partner with nest material.
You cooking.
Even though blue-footed boobies don't even make nests. Nah, instead they thug it out on the ground, while defecating 360 until the dried product forms a ring around the nest. Why? Well, as it turns out, boobies have a poor sense of smell but great visual memory, and in a flock of up to 10,000, they recognize their nest by the specific ring of guano, and guano stands for gonna wanna stay in that ring, because somehow that visual memory doesn't apply to their children, and only chicks inside the septic center get fed. Baby boobies that leave the center not only don't get recognized and don't get fed, they might get massacred by their own mother. Did I just catch you? Leaving the poop ring. That's not the only way a baby booby can get deflated. This seabird practices siblicide, because again, don't let the internet's unrealistic booby standards tell you otherwise. No pair of boobies are exactly the same.
So unrealistic.
One's always a little bit bigger.
Unrealistic
and that's
standards.
okay, it's totally normal. But it does mean the bustier bosom will bludgeon and bully the weaker chick, often while the parents watch the booby get murked like mastectomy. It usually happens when parents are low on groceries, but sometimes the booby newbie will catch a body just because. The Nazca booby will yeet its sibling out of the nest, even though studies have proven that boobies working together could easily feed both children.
Did I just catch you?
Obviously, he knows what he's doing, right? And my favorite kind of humor is inappropriate humor. You know what I mean? So I'm just loving this. I'm just loving it. This might be the most amount that he has cooked in the shortest amount of time out of all his videos, and we're getting educated, right? Perfection. Or what Dwight would say, perfectenschlag. But we're not talking about the other meaning. Shout out to all my Office fans out there.
On the beach.
Alive. Yeah, it ain't all beauty being a booby. Like I said, unrealistic booby standards aside, they come in many colors like the red-footed variety. Also from their diet, and they also use their feet game to secure a mate. Evidently, it might work too well, as not even a predatory coconut crab can resist getting grabby with an unsuspecting booby bird. But there's more than just crip-walking unmentionables in the world. There's also tits. I've definitely grown to appreciate these fleet of flying popcorn chicken. Really nothing like waking up and opening your blinds to a nice pair resting outside your window. Tits are a large family of passerine birds seasoned all across the world. Alright, let me stop waffling. Let's address the elephant in the room. In Eurasia and Africa, they're known as tit birds, but come to America and you'll find they're called
Pickadees!
So I get why you're confused. You got an Italian plumber with a Japanese creator using their American name. Understandable, that would trip up anyone. Now with the birds with the tit variety, how they got their name is actually pretty interesting. Back in the day, tit was more like teat, and teat was an old English.
Oh my god, hold on. The Japanese and Italian plumber using their American name. That's facts. I never even thought of it that way.
Word for little or small, or even the suggestion of something small. Matter of fact, there was a time where it was used to reference a small horse or pony in the very derogatory. For example, no storing of pasture with baggly tit, with ragged with age, and evil at hit. Thomas Tasser. Translation: Tommy had a problem with them horses. But yeah, tit means little, and if you don't believe me, pardonnez mon français, mais petite means little. So that is un petit pair de tits. Also in old-timer language, mus referred to bird, and the game of telephone turning mus into mouse is how there's now a group of birds known as titmouse. English lesson aside, when it comes to birds, there's a lot of tits in the world, and they come in all shapes and sizes. My favorite is the long-tailed tit. Look at him, he's like my final boss of bird bias. It's one of Europe's smallest birds, cause you know, they tend to keep it pretty putsy, except in Sweden. They got big ones over there. In fact, it's home to the great tit. At about 5.5 inches as far as tits go, they sure are. Can't leave the Americans out, so of course we gotta shout out Saltriparus minimus, or the bush tit. And representing the aforementioned titmouse is the tufted titmouse of Texas. Obviously they're found in more than just Texas, but ain't no stops in alliteration station. But back to my preference, the long-tailed tit. And not just because of shape, although I do like them round. I don't really have a preference, they're all beautiful. He's just built like a perfect snowball, and something about watching them hang in the air is just satisfying. But also because they have a daycare system. Nature just couldn't let a long-tailed tit rock, so they have a lot of predators like owls, weasels, and even unnatural ones like domestic cats they can thank us for. The war on tits means their airborne cotton ball has a high nest failure rate, but the thing is, if their family becomes compromised in the middle of their nesting season in May, because tits usually pop out in the spring, instead of trying again, usually what they'll do is help out a nearby nest. Now the helpers are usually related, but in a study, half of all the long-tailed nests had at least one and usually more recruits helping the cause. As you can guess, the chicks raised with helpers have a better chance of surviving a trip around the sun, and the experience means the helpers' future children have better luck at life. So
you know, I just now realized that he has the Pokemon battle stuff going on background, right? Pidgey. Is Pidgey based off of a tit? God.
Trip around the sun, and the experience means the helper's future children have better luck at life. So basically these birds are the embodiment of it takes a village, and it's always a pleasant sight to see tits sticking together for the greater good. And I gotta say, out of all these birds, I really like the of this one. Also pronounced giz, is a term used by bird watchers to describe the overall appearance or impression of said bird, typically garnered from attributes such as size, shape, flying pattern, posture, coloration. It's all about aura, the vibes. For example, some favor the J-work of a booby. Me, I prefer the vibe of a long-tailed tit. Everyone has a preference. Woosah. I hope you didn't think we were done, because we also have the tit babbler of the family Timulidae. Now you know where the TIT part spawned from, but the babble of it all referenced the constant babbling sounds they make. And obviously the naming guy wasn't into it. There's a lot of types of old world tit babblers, but probably the most famous one is the fluffy-backed tit babbler of Southeast Asia. And honestly, they're pretty, and I wasn't a believer at first, but I do see the fluffy part come into play, so having a name with babble is kind of disrespectful. Surely someone cares for what a talking tit bird has to say, but hey, they could have been done way, way worse. This is a dick sizzle. It's basically a cardinal you can find in the American Midwest and Central America. As in, they have all their hanky-spanky fun times in the US
What are these
Midwest during their
names?
breeding season from about early June to mid-August. Then, before fall, the symphony of sizzledicks migrate en masse to Central and South America. They nest on the ground, and they're highly territorial and will run fades in the name of property development. So if you walk outside to a hyper-pigmented popcorn kernel running the ones, you sir have a case of aggressive dick sizzles. But considering they're only 5 inches long, you'd much rather hear those words on your front lawn than from a doctor in a clinic.
Okay. All right. This video is genius. Honestly, man. I feel like he's definitely bringing kind of like the immaturity out of all of us. Like, I get it. And it just makes me wonder of how many words that we've taken and just pretty much flipped it into another meaning, but they actually had a real meaning before it got changed into whether it be derogatory terms or just, just a way of explaining some things and everything. So, the way I'm thinking about it is that we more than likely, somebody in the world saw maybe what these birds was called and then somehow made, a cross reference. Hey, what kind of birds are those? Tits. Huh. Tits. Huh.
And the same way the morning dove brings you back to waking up in your childhood bedroom, Dick Sizzle might have been your summer anthem and you didn't even realize it. In fact, that's how they got their name. Apparently after what the naming guy thought their song sounded like in words.
Oh.
And somehow that was enough to get named like an STD. If that's onomatopoeia, I wouldn't want to be ya. Speaking of which, this is the go-away bird of Africa. Same timing as Richard Sizzle. Their lore is that their call sounds like Kowe, which apparently was in the neighborhood of go away. At first I wasn't feeling it, but if I try really hard, I can make myself hear it. Or I could just be getting Barbied again.
Oh, Barbie, those were vintage!
Did he not just curse? The fun thing about them is it's believed that is an alarm call to warn other go-aways and actually even other animals of predators. Conceptually, if that's true, that's really cool. And that's it for the onomatopoeia portion. Let's talk about the rough-faced shag. It sounds like a euphemism for the cultural appropriation of canine coitus. Really, it's a rare seabird endemic to New Zealand. Shout out New Zealand. A cormorant, if you will. You know what else is a cormorant? I believe you've met. This aquatic Attack on Titan is also called a king shag. The rough-faced thing comes from the patch of dry yellow skin called the caruncle. Lots of birds have this, like the king vulture. By the way, do not Google caruncles on a pigeon. I'm serious, that ruined my whole vibe. For Big Shaggy, the caruncles really swell up and brighten during...
Don't ruin me with a good time. All right, see if my day gets ruined. Caruncles on a pigeon. You know what? I don't even know how to spell it. Caruncles. Okay, so I've been saved by my inability to spell caruncles. So, all right, let's keep it going.
Breeding season. Also, that ring around their eye turns an even bolder blue. It's really no different from the blue of a booby bird. Consider it amorous eczema. And it's not the weirdest thing a bird will do for attention. This is a sage grouse. And this is the part of the video that might actually get me got. Two things. One, that's a guy. And two, those implants are inflatable guller sacs that they pop out for female validation. What they'll do is gangs of grouses will gather in groups called leks, that's L-E-K, and they'll display their headlights in a courtship dance that you can actually hear from 3 miles away.
There's no way, bro. There's no way. There's no way that you can get flagged for this. This is literal nature. This is educational content. There is no way this violates COS from YouTube, right? Because if it does, then, cooked. Education channels are cooked, bro. You can't even talk about nature, right? Nature, literally. And you still get cooked. There's no way.
It's very competitive, and they'll spend hours a day doing it. And in the center of the lek is the biggest bosom bird, the dominant male that gets to mate with pretty much 80% of the girl grouses there. Now let's be honest, you and I probably had the same thought when we saw this. How do they avoid predators when they're built like an uppercase cry for attention? Yeah, see, that's the thing though. Grouses have the peacock problem, where their biggest flex often gets them flatlined by predators. Those chesticles mean guy grouses get griefed by eagles so bad that the ratio of girls to guys can be 2 to 1. But there's another bird that gets their lecks in. This is an Andean cock of the rock, and shout out to Peru, that is their national bird, and that is who you can blame for this. They have one of the biggest globes in nature because that's how they look fresh out the shell. The cock of the rock will also gather in lecks and also put on a show for female attention. I wish I had more videos I could show you, but apparently cock of the rocks are difficult to witness because apparently they're shy and easy to disturb because even a rock cock can get performance anxiety. Again, it happens, it's totally normal. I mean, not to this guy, but with a name like Superb Bird of Paradise, thinking otherwise would be a failure of your expectations. But whether you see it or not, the bird of Peru really knows how to rock out with his cock. Okay, that's gonna do it for this video. I feel like with all the chest jokes I made, it's only right that I donate to the breast cancer organization, so link down below if you'd like to do so as well. Also, did you know 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer? Stop playing with y'all health, go get screened. A dead boobie's a terrible thing. Also, I feel like I keep forgetting to plug the fact that I have a Patreon, so if you'd like to support this nonsense beyond just subscribing, the link will also be in the description. But as always, honestly, I'm not really hurting right now. Like, don't give something you need, not in this economy. Like, it's cool if you do, but yeah, I don't really need it. I would appreciate if you liked the video. Y'all know I usually don't ask that without offering something, but I think we both know YouTube's not gonna be kind to this one. But yeah, drink water, hug your mother. I'm telling y'all, birds really do be birding. Take time to appreciate. And I'ma see y'all in the next one.
That's crazy if this gets like age restricted. And I feel like what's funny is that, you know, more than likely he probably marked this video as something that's not made for kids. You know what I mean? Because we have to choose that if it's made for kids when it's not made for kids. So with that being said, most of the people who should be coming in and watching this will probably understand, you know, some of the jokes he was making, but people who don't, then great, right? Ignorance is bliss. You've learned something, right? So it's kind of an attack on two fronts, but there's just no way that this video gets taken down because it, by all intents and purposes, was an educational video about nature and animals that actually exist, right? So, but yeah, 100% brought the immaturity out of me, you know, and I don't blame it. Sometimes you need to have a little fun. You let me know what y'all thought about this video down in the comments. Dave's out.